A very warm welcome to our IC Tales audience. Hope you're doing good. Today we have with us Miss Navya Pahuja, a young and dynamic entrepreneur and is a managing director of her own creation, Shakthi Constructions. Today we'll have an insight on a wonderful journey. So, hi ma'am, how are you and how does it feel to be here?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Feels great to be here.
Okay, so can we get started with the questions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So, for starters, can you share the story of when and how did you decide to pursue real estate as a career and what motivated you for choosing it?
So the story is pretty long, but it starts
Sure, go ahead.
when I think I was 17 years old when I had my first job at a startup company. I was a business development manager there.
Okay,
And I was never good at studies. I was always better at working.
okay,
And eventually, I think it was the need of the hour for my family.
yeah,
My father had left the real estate realm 25 odd years ago, and there was a plot of land that was now, ready to be
yeah,
built on. So I think at 19, decided with my father that it's better not to do a joint venture with another builder, and why not kind of tap into our family history and kind of do what we know best, and
yeah,
that's building. So it was a joint effort between me and my father, and we decided to kind of get into this mammoth together.
yeah. I think it's a pretty good background story because, everybody has their own talents and whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what led to the establishment of, Shakti Constructions, and is there, more to the backstory or the creation?
Oh, so Shakti Constructions is actually was founded at the time of independence
Okay.
of our
Okay.
great
I
nation.
know that.
And so when, Bharat was becoming what it is today, my great grandfather had migrated from Quetta, Balochistan to Bombay.
Okay.
And they had a massive business in both parts of the country. Then it was one country, but they had then exchanged plots of land and kind of exchanged businesses, and he had his a lot of business stuff was kind of managed between the two countries like that. But then
Okay.
he decided to settle permanently in Bombay, and we had a
Okay.
dynamite machine. Like our family had a dynamite machine, and my great grandfather then had these plots of land
Okay.
and would start crushing mountains for
Okay.
other things. And we had petrol pumps in the area and a lot of basically land based
Okay.
work. That is when Shakti Constructions was born
Okay.
back in the day. And it kind of manifested itself into a real estate development company over time.
Okay.
But my father found his passion in engineering later
Okay.
on in life, and then stumbling upon, I found my passion in real
Yeah.
estate. So Shakti Constructions is actually a very old company,
Okay.
but it's kind of been revived now, if
Yeah.
anything. And back then, my great grandfather was the first cooperator of Bombay.
Okay.
So it was then kind of energized, and he kind of wanted to go into more charity work and do stuff for our nation.
Okay.
So Shakti Constructions had kind of taken a back seat then.
Okay.
So
I think that's a
I've
quite
not
interesting.
started Shakti Construction. Shakti Constructions was, I'm like fourth generation here.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I actually had a confusion between that, and that's a quite interesting story. Yeah. So, you know how obviously there's marketing trend every now and then there's changing
Mhm.
consumer demands and all that. And how do you think Shakti Constructions cope up with all that?
So it was very, very intimidating at first because,
Okay.
on paper, we're brand new, right? We've not
Yeah.
had a bigger brand name. We don't have, we're not the biggies of the real estate world. We kind
Yeah.
of are from a very small area called Sakinaka in Bombay.
Okay.
And so if you Google Sakinaka, the first thing pops up is notorious for traffic. So it's kind of hilarious. But so we didn't have a big banner name kind of backing us up. We didn't have another builder with us. It was just it was intimidating, but something that I found personally would speak to our clientele and speak to the people and speak to public, which has worked, touch wood, in our favor, is design. Is design,
Okay.
and like the fact that we are, fourth generation here works for us, because something that we've done very differently than other builders is, you might have noticed, a lot of commercial buildings and a lot of other buildings have those plain glass facades. Like the
Yeah.
elevation, the exterior of the building is
Yeah.
fully glass. It's kind of, it's not environmentally friendly. It's
Okay.
not safe at all. So
Yeah.
we kind of really, really dabbled into aesthetics and design to make it more environmentally friendly and make it more safe for people to really be in. So we decided to go with old European design and work with holographic mosaic tiles so that it's better for our environment. I think we have to really keep that in mind as humans today. We can't just exploit natural elements, and our planet is heating up. So the more glass you put on buildings, the more glass facades that you create, it becomes like you're living in a heat oriented place. So that is something
Yeah.
that we didn't want. So we've done, I think, our design has spoken very, like, it's spoken for itself, and people are liking it. So I think that's something that set us apart and has been a strong point. And the fact that, me and dad personally sit here all the time, and we, work with clients a lot personally with our sales team, of course. So that personal touch is something that I feel that clients have lacked, you know just to understand the property. People want to know the history behind the land. People want to know history behind, what's happened, and
Yeah.
people want to know what is the design perspective. They want to know what they're buying, I think. So that is something that was missing in the real estate industry that I feel like Shakti Constructions brings today. So it's kind of got its personality there.
Yeah, I think you know how people always want to have choices and then get to know and then choose it perfectly. And I think,
Exactly.
a lot of real estate doesn't consider environmental things or considers it just for, the profit purpose and all that. And I think
Yeah.
you guys have achieved it. Yeah. So yeah, does Shakti Constructions, obviously it would have had a lot of success points, but is there any specific notable achievements that you'd like to share?
So, I mean, notable achievement is the fact that we've been able to build on this land. So it's a really old, it was a really old project. And we had to really, I think it took us 4 years to
Okay.
revive it completely. And we
Okay.
had shut down during COVID
Yeah.
because we knew that the market was going to crash in a certain manner, that people were not going to invest
Yeah.
in property. I mean, that was not the first priority. First priority was survival. And that was the same thing for us as well. So, we kind of kept us in place of the client back then, and we decided to take a back seat during COVID. And with that time, roughly, it took us 4.5 years to get a lot of stuff rolling. Because as I mentioned, we didn't have any big banner backing us up. We did not have any, working builder brand with us.
Yeah.
So all of the agencies needed to be revived. There's a lot that goes into construction other than just construction.
Yeah.
So all of that backhand part had to, take place. So that happened, family really celebrated, because and our entire team celebrated, because it felt like we'd won a war. It felt like that 300 war was over and we'd kind of really achieved something. And especially when we got our RERA registration, I remember my dad and I just hugged, and we were like, okay, this is happening, this
Yeah.
is it, and we're gonna make it through. We're gonna make it through. So touch wood, by God's grace, we
Yeah.
are, moving forward.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I like it. I loved how you concentrated more on survival because instead of doing everything in a hurry and then not going,
Yeah.
you took a step back and all that. Yeah. So speaking of the
I think it's
COVID-19 all.
important to kind of put your place in of the client,
Yeah.
because like in our family we've been property buyers as well as property makers. So it's important to put yourself in a place where you understand the client so that you can service the client.
Exactly.
So understanding smaller things is, I feel, the most important part.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, so speaking of COVID-19 outbreak, obviously there's been a lot of
Mhm.
ups and downs, especially economically. Yeah, so how did Shakti
Yeah.
Constructions, overcome all those difficulties probably?
I think, to put it in a simpler manner, the only way we could overcome it by putting a stop to things,
Okay.
and putting a stop to things in a more graceful manner.
Yeah,
I mean, we knew that work was still going to happen. We kept our eyes and ears opened. But we knew that if we had invested money in the wrong manner, or if
yeah,
we had kind of rolled our money in another manner, it would have been quite the disaster.
yeah,
So keeping like our labor and our security and like all of our services which was already on site happy,
yeah,
and their homes working was priority number one. So that is where we kind of made that a priority, because it was a hard period of time for everyone, especially that section of people,
yeah,
because they wouldn't have had money to send back home. And as employers, it's our responsibility. Today
yeah,
you wake up, if as someone who's leading a company, you wake up thinking that you have people's homes to feed. It's not just your home that needs
um,
the profits. It's just not your home that needs to be running. It's not just your home that's electricity is going to be running. If you work, if you are leading people in a certain manner, it's your responsibility
yeah,
that their payroll keeps on working and they lead a happier life. I think that was priority number one, because we didn't want to hurt anyone's pockets. We did not want to hurt anyone's families. So that was honestly the priority during COVID-19, that to help as much as we can.
yeah,
And by God's grace, we had the savings at that time to kind of keep giving and keep that momentum going, so that people were standing with us when the pandemic ended the way it did, and we could start work with the kind of valor that it did. So I think people's blessings kept us in COVID-19. I don't want to put it any other way. It was people's blessings, and I mean, it wasn't us at all. It was people's blessings.
it was very selfless of you to, mention all that, because
I mean, I don't
during,
look at it in a selfless manner. I think it's,
okay,
if God is blessing you with something, it's your responsibility to move it forward.
yeah,
It's just
true.
basic, I feel.
Yeah, because this was something very unexpected, the COVID-19, and people didn't actually know how to handle it. And I think all these was a smart move, of course. Yeah. So with that, could you give us an insight on your future expansions and ventures of Shakti Constructions?
So something that, fingers crossed, I'm working on is, um, the way I see it, I don't want to spread too much across Bombay. I would like to
Okay.
concentrate one area at a time.
Okay.
So suppose we have Sakinaka Kurla. So we've got a lot of family owned land, as well as now looking into other projects as well.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it more from a micro level, that we can
Okay.
kind of do well for one area and then move forward and create a name for ourselves, honestly. And something that I have personally seen on in this realm is, I look younger. I look I mean, I hate to say it, but as a girl, people don't really trust you too much in this field.
Okay.
But over the years, I have kind of garnered that kind of respect and that kind of understanding. So people are recognizing a lot more, and people are understanding and accepting a lot more. So I think I want to take that forward and kind of motivate other people as well.
Yeah.
So right now we're doing an IT project, like an IT park, which is going to really change the face of Sakinaka, because it's a massive project, and the way we're doing it is, I mean, the design, and it's I mean, I hate to kind of toot my own horn here, but I'm really proud of the project that we have going on. So I think it's going to keep the ball rolling for
Yeah.
all of the other projects coming forward.
I wish you all the best. Of course, being a woman in real estate has its own, advantages and disadvantages.
Challenges, yeah.
Yeah. And you being this young and so passionate and all that, obviously. Yeah. So, yeah, with
Thank
that,
you.
I'd like to ask what kept you going in all these difficult phases, and yeah, what motivated you the most to keep going?
Oh God. Uh,
Mm.
I think every challenge that came, it wasn't, I mean, so one thing that I've learned, and this is a life learning more than a real estate learning, is that every obstacle will end and every obstacle will move. There is absolutely no point in like stressing pointlessly,
Of course.
and you have to keep moving forward. I think, back when I was younger, because I mean I started in real estate at 19. So
Yeah.
it's scary as hell. It's intimidating. It's ridiculous. Honestly, no one should start real estate at 19. But that is, I mean, I would stress a lot, and I would be like, oh my god, how is this gonna happen? How is that gonna happen? Because I have no, I'm not a civil engineer. I'm not a licensor. So I've learned everything on ground, and I've had an amazing like team. I've been blessed with the best team that's taught me, corrected me, but also listened to me and kind of understood that I'm coming from a different perspective, and taken that perspective into account and kind of gone with what I have visioned. And so I think you have to keep moving forward. There's no obstacle that cannot be solved. There's no problem that cannot be solved. So when people think that अरे ये problem आ गया अभी कैसे करेंगे, हो जाएगा. Just
Yeah.
keep moving forward. हो जाता है. I think that's just been what it is. And my motivation is, I think, my parents. Honestly, my motivation would be my parents. I think when you go back home and you see that your parents are proud of you, I that there is no bigger motivation. There is no bigger aim in life.
Satisfaction. Yeah.
Everything will come and go, but your parents, I think, for me, that's been the motivation.
I think that's such an wholesome answer. And yeah, and I know it came from your heart. Yeah, so I think that was it for this session. And I had really great conversation, and more
Thank you
so
so
it I
much.
had for someone who has no idea about real estate. Like I'm, mostly from media side, I do journalism and all that.
Mhm.
And I've never explored the side of real estate. I've never spoken to anybody related to that. And being it the first time, I think I was inspired a lot from your
Oh,
points.
thank you.
And yeah, I think that was it. And I really hope you achieve more and more. And yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope the same for you.